Hello and welcome to the Eskrima podcast. My name is Jason Enai. I'm an Enai and Eskrimador, and I want to welcome you to the podcast. If this is your first time watching it or listening to it, as well as if this is your second, third, or 39th time, as I begin to work towards finding a voice for this particular project. Today's subject is, how do we get started in martial arts, right? But first, make sure you like, comment, and share. If you're interested in online training, nin-eskrima.com, highly recommend the Steel membership to begin with. Again, that's INAYAN-ESKRIMA.com. In-person training, and come and do it in person, private lessons, group lessons here in Los Gatos, California. You can go to nin-eskrima.biz and you can get a day pass there, or you can get private lessons there. If you want to do group classes, you'll need to come in, check it out. We'll see you on that training floor. And I look forward to getting to share the passion of my art with you. But today I wanted to talk about getting started. Yesterday, or the last episode, just very quickly spoke about, like, you know, how do we stay motivated? How do we train by ourselves, right? You know, things like that, and never regretting going to class. But the first real hurdle is getting to class, right? So, I mean, it might start with finding the right class for you. And so there was an episode previously that I went through, you know, like what you're looking for in an instructor, right? So what you might look for in an instructor, or what we look for to make sure that they have maybe something to offer and that the right character is there, right, is someone who has new students and has senior students. And what I mean senior is the guy has been teaching like myself. I've been teaching for just about 32 years now, and I have one current student in the local school, Hung Guru Justin Meyer, and Guru Ron. And he's been with me since 99, and so 24 years now, right? And I have Cicero Shanenbeck and Cicero Lopez. They're over in Wisconsin. They've been with my family for over 30 years. You know, my sister still is part of my organization. She was a student of my father's, of course. And also I helped her with her senior training. And I've known her all her life. Most of mine, right? So, you know, students that you've had for a long time. Right? That's important. And ideally not necessarily related to, but that's good if you have students that you're related, or they have students that they're related to. But also new students. Students that are older than them, students that are younger than them. Instructors that only teach adults or only teach children, not necessarily a bad thing, but it's better to see that, you know, your instructor is capable of teaching youth, children, and adults. It's even better if on the adult side they're able to teach or have taught, you know, civilians, law enforcement, and military, right? That your ideal instructor would not only have relationships with people that are junior to him, but also students under the same instructors or whatever, but also students that are senior to him, and also his peers. That looks really good. You know, my Uncle Frank was a student under my father and was my teacher when I was a kid. You know, so my main teachers are obviously my father, my Uncle Dan Inosanto, my Uncle Grandmaster Jimmy Tacosa, my Uncle Remy Estrella, and then there's like my Uncle Frank, my Uncle John, who passed away a couple years now, and we miss him very much, and my Uncle Rob. I mean, so some people that were pivotal in my training, and my Uncle Frank still comes to class, right? And I still learn under my Uncle Dan to this day, right? But my Uncle Frank is also a student of my teacher, my father. So he is my senior and was my teacher, and now he's still in the organization, still helps teach the students, but we look at each other more as peers. I learn from him and he learns from me, right? And then also your ideal instructor would have senior students of his own, right? So, and then junior students. I think I've already said that, right? The other thing too is we're looking for an instructor that can teach with other people on the floor, right? So, like here, the United tradition is that while I run the classes when I'm present, I have other instructors on the floor that I work with, collaborate with, delegate to give a richer experience to students, right? A lot of these things that we look for criteria-wise in getting started in martial arts, we want the right instructor. And the right instructor for us could be the right instructor for different things, right? So the other part of it, besides having an instructor that has a relationship with their teacher and peers and seniors, right? Has a relationship with senior students and junior students, has older and younger students, etc. We also want someone that's going to teach the kind of art. Do we see ourselves throwing? Do we see ourselves really just scrapping up with punches? Do we want to be able to do it all? Are tools involved, etc.? So those are all the things that we're really looking for to kind of, I don't know if I would say vet, but definitely look at an instructor and the education that they're providing to see that it's well suited for us. And someone who can actually instruct, teach it, and have students that are capable of doing it themselves, and ideally, if they're young enough, can still do it themselves too. Those are important things that we look for. And then once we've done that, we find a school, and some will tell you, find a schedule that works for you at a school. I kind of think that you should find a school that's going to work for you and then adjust your schedule. And the reason why I say this is because if you were to go to university, right, you've got to do a little bit of both. You got to do a bit of bending. Sometimes you can find classes that you can sign up for that are convenient to your lifestyle or what's going on in your life at that time. But then there are going to be really important classes that you're going to take that you're going to have to adjust to. Well, if we look at martial arts as an elective, right, and we look at it from the point of view is it's something that we want to do and something that we find important, then we're going to find ourselves having to adjust for the right instructor. Now, you can go to any instructor, any school, and just get any old program, and you're going to get any kind of result. But if you're looking for a specific result, right, getting started, then you might have to bend a little. You might have to adjust your own schedule to get the kind of training that you want to have, right? As an example, I teach kick punch, I teach elbow and knee, but I also teach stick, sword, and knife, and headbutt, and eye gouge, and fishhook. I teach throw and wrench and tear, right? I teach smash and cut and cleave, right? So what I offer as an instructor might not be what someone wants. They might want something that's more, point oriented, or more exhibition oriented, or more oriented towards calisthenics and less so towards martial arts in its idealist form, right? In terms of like how we should look at martial arts. Martial arts is the ancient military secrets of, in many ways, long gone civilizations or eras of civilizations. Filipino martial arts is interesting because, if you do Korean martial arts and you're doing Taekwondo, well, that was created in the 1950s. Taekwondo itself as a style did not exist prior to the 1950s. If you want to do Judo, while it started in the 1950s as well, or maybe a little bit earlier, it is a evolution, or it's branched off from Jiu-Jitsu, right? So it's essentially the safer, if you will, more easily employable forms of throwing in order to practice hard and fast, right? Because if we go down that rabbit hole of jiu-jitsu to Daito-ryu jiu-jitsu on the true art of the samurai, which, if we're looking at it, your Daito-ryu jiu-jitsu, kenjutsu are your samurai arts that, you know, move towards or evolve towards jiu-jitsu, towards aikido, towards judo, towards Brazilian jiu-jitsu, which is the latest, you know, rendering of that tradition in line, but so far removed from Japanese arts, because where judo is going to teach you how to throw someone flat on their back, you get your ippon, because it's point-based, it's an athletic, competitive combat sport. Samurai's throw might end up, instead of your opponent landing on their back, because you're a samurai and you're fighting them and it's war, they land on their head, or they land in such a way that something snaps, pops, cracks, right? So you're looking for a school that's going to provide you the right kind of environment. The United system of Eskrima appeals to people that are looking for something that's both traditional, contemporary, and more combat effective, if you will, right? So Filipino martial arts itself is early written documentation is 1500s, right? Maybe a little bit before that, and historical accounts of that in history in the Philippines starts with Pigfetta, who is the historian or chronicler for Magellan when he quote unquote discovers the Philippines. And then we see it today used by the Philippine armies, or rather I should say Marines. I think they're called Scouts, Marine Scouts. And so they're taught a form of Filipino martial arts now. So we have a military contiguous history use historically of the art of its origin used by its people, right? And it's used today. And Filipino martial arts is an important part of what is presented as combat effective martial arts in movies like John Wick and The Bourne Supremacy and others like The Accountant. Although The Accountant, that's Southeast Asian martial arts, which is Silat, but Silat is, you know, moving into the Philippines is Kung Tao Silat, which is Pangamut or Filipino empty hands. They're all part of the same kind of diaspora, if you will. So, you know, find the art that you're looking for, find the right instructor, be ready to adjust your schedule to accommodate that instructor's schedule, right? And then show up. Wow, that's the hard part though, because showing up is not so easy for people, right? Some people are afraid. Some people have that, you know, idea that, you know, they want to be fit enough before they join martial arts, which is not exactly right? You can't, you know, hope to join the military and then, you know, when I'm ready, I'll do boot camp. That's not the way that works, right? And in the same sense, you got to go to the beginner classes because you're not ready, right? That's kind of part of it. And it's not something that we should make light of necessarily. It's actually quite difficult for some people. It's a big step for them. Some people only show up to the parking lot, and it takes a lot for them to, you know, get out of the car and step in the door, you know, maybe sign that waiver, join that first class, get their free trial, or whatever it is, right? It's a big step for them. And, you know, if this is where you are in your training, the beginning of your training, and you're able to make that first class, or you're getting ready for first class, hey, my hat's off to you. Takes a lot of courage. You know, part of the challenge of going to class, at least on an unconscious level, whether you're going to your first class or your 100th class or your 1000th class, right, is an acknowledgement of, I don't know some things. Maybe I don't know a lot. Maybe you're at complete unconscious incompetence level in terms of development, in which case you don't even know what you don't know, right? And then also the acknowledgement, at least on a subconscious level, that I can get better. I can be better, right? So martial arts, I think it's absolutely necessary. I was having a discussion with a parent recently, and we're talking about martial arts and self-defense, and his daughter is doing Olympic fencing, which he's like, well, it doesn't really, there's some things, but it doesn't really, afford self-defense. And his daughter is like maybe 13 or 14. And we went along a conversation where we both agree. Obviously, I agree with the sentiment, but he does as well, that every child, especially girls, should learn self-defense, should learn martial arts. And that they can't do it over a weekend, but they need to do it over a number of years to develop the right skills. And that, on the part of the parent, is going to take a little bit of discipline, and making something mandatory, or at least encouraging their child to go, is really important. And then for the adult, whether you're a victim of violence or whether you're concerned with it or you just want to be ready for it, absolutely necessary for you to do martial arts. At least enough. And by enough, I personally think that you're not really well seated in art, well ensconced, entrenched, trained, unless you've been doing a minimum of 5 years. And 5 years is enough to get some basics down, really, in the scope of what the body of work of all these great martial artists that are around these days. I came from greater martial artists from days gone by now, right? 5 years is it, right? So I mean, if you want to do it like a 4-year degree and at least get 4 years in, whether you look at it as a high school level or college or university level, that 4 to 5 years is important in one art or system under one set of instructors. That's the main thing that you're gonna have to do, especially if you've never done any real martial arts at all. So it's hard. How do we get started? Well, find the right class. And if you can't find the right class and right teacher, find any class. Any class is better than nothing, right? But the right class and better than nothing, there's a large gap there. So ideally, you're looking for the best place. Martial arts is not like window shopping. You can't just try here, try there, try here, right? You need to make a good decision and not dabble so much. If you're uncomfortable in the training because it's difficult, because you lack the skill or coordination in the exercises at the beginning, it's probably your place. You should be uncomfortable. Your first day of training and your 10,000th day of training, in an ideal sense, should contain the same feeling of uncertainty, feeling of inadequacy in what you could do or should be able to do. Maybe not the whole class, like your first class might be, but at least a part of the class at your 10,000th class, right? If you can see yourself treated that way. Anyways, getting started is tough, and the best thing for you to do is just show up, right? Walk through that door, sign up for that class, right? And keep at it for a number of years. So hopefully this was helpful. Again, my name's Jason. I'm an Eskrima. This is the Eskrima podcast. I hope to see you on the training floor.